Really?
Oh, I don't know, a little bit maybe.
Yeah.
I think so.
Nah, it's pretty casual. He's just gonna ask you some questions like regarding your experience and just be you, bro. You got this.
He's not going to ask me how to make an Ajax request.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's start with that. How do you make an Ajax?
$parentheses URL.
Yeah.
Success. I studied all of that. No, but it's the gist of it.
Yeah. Did you come in with programming experience?
No. So I took CS1 this year at my high school, and that was like we built stuff on scratch. We did a little bit of GitHub. Like that's why apparently I had a repository I didn't know about.
Okay.
But the point is I didn't know about it. Like we didn't really do much stuff at all. And I mean, it was fun. It was like getting acquainted with it, but like I think I learned more in one day at Horizons than I did the entire year.
Agreed.
At
Really?
high school, which goes to say that I practically had no coding experience, is the way I would put it.
Yeah. And so, like, comparing day one at Horizons, for example, with what you did in CS in high school, what were some of the differences? Like, what did you like about here? And
here, I think the main thing I noticed was that it all seemed really practical. Like everything I did each day, I could apply it at the end. So, whether it's a video day where you learn a bunch of things, you're doing like things that seem very abstract. At the end, you do a project that like makes sense. It's a web app, or it's something that you're going to use. And I really enjoy that aspect of Horizons. Whereas at boarding school, and this isn't to say that CS1 at high schools, or at least in my boarding school, is bad. It's just very different. Like we would build. Well, I don't think we really built anything. We made our own website, and like we would add HTML text to that, but that's it. There's no like functionality to it. There's nothing that's happening. A lot of it is just like the teacher sort of telling us what to do. But really there wasn't much building or practicality involved at all.
yeah.
And neither was there like actually getting a good grasp of the concepts. So I don't think like anyone from that class really would remember some of the stuff we did in Python. Like Python was basically like making a counter sort of thing, like count equals count plus 1.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I think one thing that really stuck out about you is that you're always sort of coming up with new ideas, often in groups, right? And you're excited about like putting new
Just
things out
brainstorming
there.
sort of thing.
Yeah, and so I guess like a two-part question, but we'll start with part one. Of all the projects that you built here from day one until today, what was the one that sort of stood out to you, the most exciting?
That's a really hard question. Can I include the hackathon?
Yeah.
I think, well, I guess the hackathon then, if I can include it. My team and I built Wayfair, which was like a travel app kind of, and we use Yelp's API and a map API to basically get information about like all sorts of things, like whatever you have on Yelp basically, which is everything, restaurants, gyms, activities, and it was the craziest part was that it would dynamically update, so, and then at the end it would like show your route on the map. So that was definitely, I think, the most gratifying experience I think I had here so far, because that sort of like before that we would always do projects and they were still much more guided, so there were instructions and we could ask TAs for a lot of help. But the hackathon, it wasn't until the hackathon that I really knew how much I could do myself and how much more I could do in collaborating with a team.
Yeah.
In terms of actually building something.
And so, just looking ahead, I'm personally really sad because it's your last week here.
As am I.
Yeah, what sort of project would you like to be working on in the years ahead? What can we expect from you?
I'm not entirely sure about that. I think definitely, I guess this is digressing from the question a little bit, but Horizons has changed my perspective on the way I look at tech, in the sense that prior to this I thought it was very specific and only certain types of people can succeed in that world, and I didn't realize that was something that I could actually use as a tool to build something. And that's sort of exactly what I intend to do. I don't mean to make it like my life necessarily, so I'm probably not going to move to San Francisco and work here, but I definitely want it to be a tool that I can use to impact other people. whether that means building an app that sort of impacts people socially, or I don't know. I don't know what exactly it'll be, but I think I'm definitely going to use tech as part of my career.
Yeah. And I think, maybe even right now we're future looking in terms of career. Maybe even if we look back, I think it'd be interesting just to hear a little bit about your story. I think, from where you went to high school even before that, where you grew up, go to high school.
Yeah.
What your perspective has been throughout. Yeah.
So I grew up in New Delhi. Both my parents lived there. My grandparents, my entire family is there in India, and I went to a school called Vasant Valley School. It's known to be one of the best day schools in India in terms of rankings. The education quality there, however, doesn't really match up to the title. Until the 5th grade, education was good because they sort of had their own system. They would come up with their own textbooks, and the teachers there then, the faculty was actually really good. And I think a lot of your education depends on the faculty you have. And then India has this horrible education system called the CBSE. It's the Central Board of Secondary Education, and it's basically, the concept behind it is to have a baseline for education. But what happens is the way they design, the entire curriculum really is to ace your tests and just do really well on your board exams. So what happens is, as you grow older, even at Vasant Valley, we didn't look at CBSE at all at the beginning, but come 9th grade, we start CBSE. And 6th to 8th grade is sort of spent shifting over to that, because it's very different. And that's when I realized I sort of started liking a lot of my classes less. I was definitely a math guy growing up, and until the 8th grade too, I was good at math, but I definitely started losing interest. And then I didn't really like humanities at all back in India, because if we were doing Shakespeare, the teacher would come literally with a Spark Notes book and teach out of that. So there wasn't much thinking involved, but I think St. Andrews really has changed my perspective on both of these things. So for math, for instance, the first 2 years I didn't really like it that much at St. Andrews. I thought it was very traditional, about the same as India almost. And it was slower than India, for sure. And then humanities, however, I leaned towards the humanities a lot, because for the first time I thought that I could actually come up with my own conclusions, read, review, and then think and rethink, and then come up with my own ideas, interpretations of books. And I think in terms of where I lie on that spectrum is really confusing to me, because I lean towards humanities, but then this year I had this amazing math course where it was sort of advanced college level math, but it was, we did cryptography one quarter, and then we did Euclidean geometry for a quarter without using his book. So we'd have to actually think on our feet and prove everything as if we were Euclid. And now that I've done Horizons too, it's added another element to my education. So I'm not entirely sure where I lie on the spectrum, but definitely I want to integrate both sides and do something with that.
Yeah, when a lot of people think about Horizons, they wonder about how competitive it is, how intense it is, how much they can expect to be working. So just given your experience, how would you comment on that?
I think I think you're going to be working a lot. Anyone who goes to Horizons is working a lot. But then again, I think this is probably one of the only settings in which I've seen so many motivated people work together. So everyone that's here, I haven't seen anyone who's sort of tired of the work we're doing. Or no, that's not true. People definitely get tired. I've gotten tired. I've been really tired. But people still sort of push through and finish the work because people actually want to learn. I think everyone that's here, arguably everyone, really wants to learn and make the most of their Horizons education. And given that I was in that environment, every time I was tired, especially because you still have different levels of coding experience. So there's some people who have a decent amount of coding experience coming in and things are significantly easier for them. Whereas for me, or for someone who had absolutely no coding experience, things were harder. But you're surrounded by a very driven and motivated environment, which pushes you to actually sort of stay here until 9, 10 p.m., but actually get the code done and learn how to do that.
Yeah. And one thing that's interesting is that, even though you're coding for so long and there's so many projects you have to do, there's also time that's taken out of the schedule to, have like speakers talk to you,
for sure.
Different workshops, things like that. Any speaker particularly stand out to you?
I think all of them in their different ways are really good.